Y los libres del mundo responden. Brum. Oh, come on, you know you did it as a kid. Hello everyone. Welcome to another Anthem breakdown. This is going to be exciting because we are going to talk about our very first Latinx American epic anthem. And buckle up because it is a big one. El Himno Nacional Argentino, the national anthem of Argentina, states demands for equality, freedom, and the chance to die gloriously, bearing the grassroots nature of Argentina's struggle for independence. Independence was Argentina cemented, allowing itself to push back from the unstable rule of the Spanish Empire and earning its freedom. And with this freedom came the ability to express it in an anthem meant to celebrate such precious moments, making it a melodic reminder of Argentina's past. I'm Alexander from Sounding Smart, and this is El Himno Nacional Argentino, the national anthem of Argentina. For 3 centuries, Spain had colonized the majority of South America since Europeans first arrived in the region in 1502. The Spanish visited the territory, which is now Argentina, in 1516. It wouldn't be until 1776 the Spanish would officially give the region the status of the Viceroyalty of the Río de la Plata. This Viceroyalty consisted of today's Argentina, Uruguay, Paraguay, as well as much of present-day Bolivia. The settlement of Buenos Aires would now hold the customs of a new political subdivision and eventually becoming a flourishing port for trade in the region. Unfortunately, the Viceroyalty was short-lived due to a lack of internal cohesion among its many regions and lack of Spanish support. This also had to do with the British. Spain and Great Britain have been at war with each other for decades following the 7 Years' War. Following the Spanish defeat at the naval battle of Trafalgar, the British would then try to invade Buenos Aires in 1806 and 1807, but failed both times. It was because of these victories being achieved without the help from mainland Spain that boosted the confidence of the city, over time reaching the rest of Argentina. But during this time, Spain was too focused on a large problem growing in Europe. It wouldn't be long until Great Britain and Spain found themselves needing to become allies following an era of conquest led by Napoleon Bonaparte. In 1804, he would crown himself the Emperor of the French, and Napoleon began dominating most of Europe through a series of coalitions during the Napoleonic Wars. The impact of the Peninsular War, followed by the Napoleonic invasion of Spain and the ousting of the Spanish Bourbon monarchy, Napoleon went ahead and placed his brother, Joseph Bonaparte, as the new King of Spain in 1808. This change in power had an enormous impact on the Spanish Empire. In Spanish America, many local elites formed juntas and then set up mechanisms to rule in the name of Ferdinand VII of Spain, whom they considered the legitimate Spanish monarch. The outbreak of the Spanish-American Wars of Independence in most of the empire was a result of Napoleon's destabilizing actions in Spain. The new Spanish monarchy began appointing their own candidates to political offices in the Viceroyalty, usually favoring Spaniards from Europe who had little knowledge or interest in local issues. Consequently, there was a growing rivalry between criollos, multiracial Latin Americans with Spanish descent, and peninsulares, those who were born in Spain. Most criollos thought the peninsulares had underserved advantages and received preferential treatment in politics and society. An event known as the May Revolution would eventually lead to the ousting of Baltasar Hidalgo de Cisneros, the Viceroyalty of the Rio de la Plata, after a group of criollo lawyers and military officials organized an open cabildo and decided to appoint Cisneros as the president of the Primero Junta, the new establishment of the local government. But popular unrest became uncontrollable, and by the end of the same day the junta was appointed, the members resigned and Cisneros did so as well. The events that took place during the May Revolution were the tipping point into beginning the Argentine War for Independence. Fought between Argentine patriots and Spanish royalists, the war was a series of military campaigns which started in 1810. It was during this time where there were a couple of anthems introduced for Argentina. The first anthem was known as the Patriotic March and was written by Esteban de Luca and de Blas Parera. The theme of this anthem centered around the Peninsular War. 2 years later, the Triumvirate commissioned a second national anthem that was written by a priest named Fray Cayetano Rodriguez, and again by Blas Parera. This song, however, was determined to not be effective as a national anthem. So the following year, in 1813, there was a call for the new lyrics and a new anthem to be put out. This is where we find the lyricist, Vicente López y Planes, as well as the composer of the anthem, Blas Parera again, crossing paths in the Provisional Coliseum Theater in Buenos Aires on the night of Saturday, May 8, 1813. Lopez had been commissioned to write a patriotic song by the General Constituent Assembly. having published a couple under his belt already. He was attending the Antonio and Cleopatra play, and it just so happens the small orchestra that was accompanying the play was being conducted by Barrera himself. As to what inspired Lopez to write the lyrics, whether it was the plot of the play or the music, is still a bit of a mystery. But after the show ended, he went straight home and spent the whole night writing, titling the work The Anthem of May. In May 11th, the deputies of the General Constituent Assembly compared the lyrics submitted by Lopez to that of another set of lyrics written by Fray Rodriguez. Lopez's words brought applause and cheers, making the priest withdraw his work. Because the lyrics were adopted on May 11th, this date has been designated as Anthem Day. Now, it's time to put the lyrics to a score. There has been debate as to the purpose of Blas Barrera having managed to create the music in just a few days. It is also said that he lacked the satisfaction of his work, and the fact that there was anti-Spanish sentiment written in the first draft of the lyrics provided to him, especially because he was Catalonian himself. In the house of Mariquita Sanchez de Thompson, a patriot and perhaps the most active female figure in Argentina's revolutionary process, the poet Esteban de Luca read the lyrics written by Lopez. Barrera, who used to frequent Thompson's house since she used to take piano lessons with him, was asked to put the music together. Oral tradition has it that the premiere took place on May 14, 1813, at Thompson's home, but there's no documentary evidence of that. The published song sheet is dated May 14, 1813, with the title National Patriotic Song, and Barrera would conduct the official premiere in the theater on May 28th. It would eventually be simply called the Patriotic Song, until its final title change in 1848, when a composer by the name of Juan Pedro Esnaola made an arrangement that swept in popularity, with the title Himno Nacional Argentino, and the name has remained still to this day. The Revolutionary War continued on. By this time, José de San Martín, an Argentine general and the prime leader of the struggle for independence, arrived in Buenos Aires with other generals of the Peninsular War. They gave new strength to the Revolutionary War, which was marked by the defeat of the Royalist resistance. It wouldn't be long until 1816 independence was declared from Spain or any other foreign power. The defeat of the Spanish was followed by a long civil war from 1814 to 1880 between the Buenos Aires province against the other provinces of modern Argentina, the Federalist Party versus the Unitarian Party. Argentina would be torn by strife and occasional war between political factions, and Argentina tended towards periods of caudillo or strongman leadership, but el Himno Nacional Argentino prevailed. Different versions started to emerge, making mass singing difficult. Several renditions were then proposed. However, in 1860, Esnaola was commissioned to create an official version. Throughout the 19th century, the anthem was sung in its entirety. However, once harsh feelings against Spain began to fade and the country had become home to many Spanish immigrants, a modification was introduced by a decree of President Julio Argentino Roca on March 30th, 1900, getting rid of the anti-Spanish sentiment in the lyrics, as well as having the first and last verse sung, including the chorus. Many of the changes were rolled back in 1927, returning the original historic version and bringing about a heap of new problems. This original historic version was eventually rejected, and the Esnaola version was restored and confirmed as the official national anthem in 1944. You can't really find Argentina's national anthem in its constitution. However, it was officially confirmed as the anthem by decree on April 24, 1944. Specifically, Decree 10.302/44, Articles 6 and 7, stating the 1900 edition of the lyrics to be adopted, as well as Esnaola's 1860 version of the score, detailing everything from the correct key signature, the voicing, the breaks in between sections, and measures. Due to the excessive length of the official version being 9 stanzas long, during international events such as the Olympics, football games, and the Rugby World Cup, only the instrumental introduction, which lasts about 1 minute and 6 seconds, is played. Another variation is to play the instrumental introductory section followed by the last 3 lines, with the 3rd line repeated. Although this is traditional, these arrangements are not recognized by Argentine law. Almost every citizen learns their anthem at a very young age, predominantly during school, and hears it regularly. Radio broadcasters voluntarily perform the anthem at midnight, while TV channels do so before closing down their daily broadcasts. On national holidays, it is mandatory to perform the national anthem at midnight. Performance of the national anthem is also mandatory during all official events, and Argentines in attendance are expected to stand up and sing. You have the option to put your hand over your heart, face the flag or the performer of the anthem. Military personnel or veterans have to salute, and men can choose to remove their hats during the playing of the anthem. But ladies generally don't have to. This has been a centuries-old tradition which has a large amount of leniency in today's times. Argentina falls into a category of anthems which David Kendall of nationalanthemsinfo.org describes as Latinx American epics. These are found in Latinx American Spanish-speaking Central or South American countries and tend to be rather long, having an epic quality in the music, often containing both a quick, patriotic section of music and a slower, stately part, and consists of many verses, usually chronicling the history of the country. The score of Himno Nacional Argentino is riddled with complexity. So for the analysis of the score, I'm going to introduce to you musician, composer, colleague, and a dear friend of mine, ChaseChandler. Chase, take it away.
Thank you, Alexander. It is my pleasure and honor to share some interesting observations of El Himno Nacional Argentino. Our first introduction to Mr. Paredes' composition begins with an open-voiced and notably loud B-flat major chord to inspire majesty as we start this clear-cut march in common time. This anthem is written in the strong key of B-flat major, which according to the standard reference for musical key characteristics from Christian Schubert's Ideen zu einer Ästhetik der Tonkunst, published in 1806, the key of B-flat major is known for its strength of color, as if announcing wild passions of fury and emotion. This subconscious influence, paired with the double-dotted rhythms utilized in the first phrase, definitely portrays an independent magnificence that commands our ear to follow the arpeggiated tonic triad heard in the first two measures. As the anthem continues, Paredes' influence from the Western world of music and theater, even operatic arts, is clearly heard. Rossini-inspired lines and added melodic embellishments reference the elegance found in the expected aesthetic of classical-era music. Voice-led harmonic progressions and authentic cadences can be found throughout this piece, alluding to the balance and order this anthem represents. A possible strategy in the compositional process might have been adhering to the popularized styles in the Western world of music in order to invoke a sense of relevancy on an international level. Keeping with the musical standards of the era may have been a clever way to involve Argentina on the global stage of respected composition and music practice. One of the most unique aspects of this anthem is its complexity. Paredes' fondness of the operatic arts can be witnessed throughout this anthem. Recitative-like rhythms, instrumental introductions to vocal material, changes in tempo and style markings all help instruct the performance through a series of twists and turns of varying energetic moods. Rhythmic gestures involving sixteenths, triplets, and dotted rhythms not only help the music flow forward, they also pull from almost all classical conventions and cultures of the time, which, in a way, can act as a statement of ability and importance. The double-dotted rhythms in the first measure introduces Argentina as an independent world power, since it draws from a long-standing traditional sound of the French bourgeoisie. Double-dotted rhythms were extensively used by the Italian composer Jean-Baptiste Lully in the 1600s in his operatic overtures as a way to glorify the French nobility with march-like elegance. He was, after all, employed by the French bourgeoisie. Refer to Lully's overture to his opera Armide for a perfect example of this rhythm. So by Paredes using double-dotted rhythms, the listener is subconsciously influenced to feel the importance of Argentina's own display of strength and respect. A level of confidence is given to the Argentine people by composing such elaborate music as well. It takes a practiced ear and a strong rhythmic sense to follow such varying sections, with 7 tempo changes ranging from 60 beats per minute to 132, An engaging performance can be found throughout the length of this anthem, and without any gradual tempo altercations, such as the absence of retardandos and accelerandos, slowing down or speeding up, the musical conventions of the time are maintained. Especially with 6 fermatas, a theatrical experience is felt, a dramatic roller coaster of ups and downs, louds and softs, texture and timbral shifts, carries the listener to its powerful ending. The last section involves the fastest tempo, quarter note equals 132 beats per minute, and the loudest dynamic marking is involved that neatly resolves on a closed-voiced B-flat major chord held by the conductor on the last fermata of the piece. Thanks to Pereira, the listener's attention is kept throughout, and the Argentine nation is represented through this strong and conventionally relevant composition.
Thank you, Chase. If you want to find more of Chase's projects, works, and performances, check out his social media linked in the description box below. I have also asked Argentine orchestral and choir conductor Dr. Sergio Feferovich to also shed some light on the anthem and performing it.
The Argentina National Anthem is very special because it's very long. It's usually one of the longest of all anthems, and it has a long introduction, which makes people very anxious to start singing. And the introduction is so long that usually when you hear the hymn, usually people start singing right away. So instead of singing the text, "Oh, Inmortales," they sing, "Oh, oh, 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 oh," and they start singing the introduction with the instruments. That happens all the time, every time the Argentine soccer team plays in any competition. It is through compose. The shape of the hymn is not very easy to design. It has an introduction, and then the singing part, and then there is a short interlude, and the end is very glorious. Let's swear for in glory to live or to die for the country. There is a part that sounds, and then when it's repeated, and usually people confuse one with the other. So what it sounds usually when you hear in any act the anthem this hymn sing by the people, it usually sounds like, and people sing in two voices without knowing that they are doing that.
Thank you, Dr. Feferovich. My thoughts on the anthem: it is a perfect anthem for Argentina. It shows that not every anthem is composed in the same way, and therefore have many differences. This is why it is very difficult to come out with a required short version for FIFA. This is an anthem that was meant to be Argentina's. The anthem deserves to be heard in its entirety. El Himno Nacional Argentino is an anthem which ferments its country on the international stage, demanding Argentina and her people are at the level of great strength, pride, and respect as much as other notable states around the world. From the Olympics to rugby to football, the world will always be surprised and impressed by how this country triumphs over obstacles and challenges, hearing Argentina's cry of noble equality in the modern world. Here is El Himno Nacional Argentino, the national anthem of Argentina.